So yes, disappointing news, I'm afraid. This video will be a bit different to usual. This is not scripted. I don't even know what I'm going to say here, but I just wanted to get on camera and give you guys a real sense as to what rejection is like in real time. So the bad news is we proposed to the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, to use it for two different targets to look for exomoons. So these two beautiful planets, one was a rocky planet that was kind of similar to the Earth, another one that was kind of similar to Jupiter, a big gas giant. So very different worlds, but in both cases, we felt there was a great chance that they would have moons, that they would not only have moons, but those moons would survive until today. And not only that, but JWST could detect them. So it's kind of like a triple whammy. And that might sound like, well, of course. I mean, I'm sure there's several planets like that, but actually they're pretty rare. Even with JWST, there's only really a handful of the thousands of planets we know about where that is possible. So I was very excited. I mean, we could show with these models these moons should exist. We could show with these models that these moons would then be out there and still be there after 5 billion years, and we could go get them. But we got shut down. We didn't get the time. So, we got the email like an hour ago, and my student Ben, who led both proposals, Ben Casses, he came in, and we had a hug. He was devastated, as you can imagine, and I just want to give you a sense, real time, what this feels like. Normally these emails, it doesn't tell you a lot. There's some strengths, there's some weaknesses. It's pretty brief. In our case, the strengths were moons would be interesting, kind of. That was literally about the level of strength. It'd be kind of interesting. And I was like, kind of interesting? This would be like the most amazing thing ever. I guess the panel didn't see it that way. And the weaknesses, I'm not going to go into the weaknesses. Suffice to say, I don't agree with most of them, but that's probably to be expected, especially just cold after you read the email and you're feeling emotional when you first read these rejection emails. But, rejection is a part of science. And that's really what I want to talk about today. And that's why I wanted to get this on camera. Being rejected over and over and over again, that's just par for the course, right? That's how it goes in science. I have been rejected sometimes for 3 or 4 years. I've had periods where everything I put in was just no, 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 no. And you can imagine this is particularly likely in a field like I'm working in, of trying to push the envelope, of trying to detect an object, an exomoon, that up to now, nobody knows whether they exist or not. I mean, well, we kind of all assume they exist, but nobody has found one. So you're really trying to do something new. It's not the same as trying to measure the orbit slightly more precisely of a known planet, or measure the atmosphere and detect a few more molecules of a previously discovered atmosphere. This is, completely new, uncharted territory. So there's always a risk. There's always a risk. And I've rode that risk for many years, and I felt those rejections. And I think the hard thing, and the thing I want to say, because I know there are probably many astronomers watching this who feel the same way. I think we were oversubscribed 7-1 this time at JWST. So for every one of you who got time, huge congratulations to you. You should be feeling great right now. You should be popping open the champagne, and well done to you, because it is very competitive. But for the other 6 out of 7 of us who didn't get time, I know how you feel. And as I said, unfortunately, if this is your first time feeling this rejection, which is kind of true in Ben's case, then this is unfortunately just kind of the way it is in science. The people who become successful in science are the ones who learn to cope with failure over and over again, and not to take it personally. And so that's how I feel about this. I think Ben is probably much more devastated at this point than I am, because maybe he's not as attuned to that feeling of rejection, that scar tissue of many, many rejections over and over again. But I think it is an important part of not just science, but life. Because whether you're proposing for JWST time, or applying for a job, or, I don't know, hoping to, get married this year, or whatever it is, there's some hopes and dreams and aspirations you have. Things don't always go your way. Things go wrong, and that's just a part of life. And learning to deal with that is the most important lesson I gained from science as a career perspective, how to actually cope with failure. And it's developing tools, positive tools in your mind to cope with that. So for me, kind of the game I like to play is whenever I get a rejection like this, I like to think it's kind of like going on a date, on a second date or a third date, and then finally they say, you know what, I don't want to see you anymore. This isn't going to work. It's their loss, right? That's kind of the positive mentality. It's like, okay, if you don't want to go all the way with this, you're missing out. And that's really how I feel with JWST. JWST is missing out by not pursuing the question of exomoons. These two targets, oh my goodness, they're so perfect for having moons. And JWST could absolutely detect them if it just tried. If it doesn't want to do that, it's missing out. It's not going to bother me. We're going to keep trying. It does bother me a little bit, but we're going to keep trying and we're going to keep pushing. And eventually we're going to persuade them. It's just that persistence, that keep going attitude. Because at the end of the day, if we give up, if we stop, then we're guaranteed to fail. If we never look, we will never find these things. And I believe that there's a certain luck, a certain lottery to each of these panels, each of these decisions in our lives. You know, if you get rejected for a job, rejected for telescope time like this, that's just saying something more about that particular panel, and maybe there are genuine problems with what you put forward that you can iterate upon and do better next time. So there are some quite reasonable things that were pointed out, some weaknesses that I think we could do better on next time. There was also some stuff I don't agree with, but there was really some stuff there that I think, yeah, you know what, we could probably make a slightly better proposal next time just by tuning these little things. But at the end of the day, there might have just been somebody, which I kind of suspect is true, who doesn't value exomoons in the same way that maybe myself and maybe some of you feel, that exomoons really would be a totally new astronomical object. You know, when we found the first exoplanet in 1995, it just changed the whole game of astronomy. We have a whole new discipline opened up by discovering a new class of astronomical object, exoplanets. Exomoons, I doubt will have quite the same impact as that awakening moment of Michel Mayor discovering the first exoplanet with Didier Queloz, but I suspect it would still be a profound discovery that would open up entirely new disciplines within science. So it's their loss. So I'm trying to remain positive about this. I'm obviously gutted and devastated, but I want to share it with you as a teaching moment, a learning moment about how we all go through these disappointments, but we have to keep pushing, we have to keep trying, and eventually we will reach that goal. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Stay thoughtful and stay curious.